Hey everybody, welcome to the Vine Podcast, the young adult podcast here at Faith Church. My name is Pastor Brian. I want to say welcome to all you guys joining us today. I'm also joined here by two of our young adult leaders, Angelica and Zach. What's up, guys? How are y'all doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
How are you?
Doing good, man. We had a great Sunday this morning at church. We've been in a great series, and even one of our young adults got baptized this morning. So, man, it's just been a really great day. Quick question. Which one of you guys took a Sunday after church nap? Anybody? No?
I was trying not to, but I just couldn't resist.
You succumbed. It just came.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a 4-year-old, and Sunday after church naps normally don't happen. She keeps us going and going. But we are drinking some coffee here to keep us awake. Zach made us some wonderful coffee. Zach, what are we drinking today?
Yeah, so what I ended up making is a Chemex, which is basically just a big pour over, so we could, make a lot for all of us. But I did make coffee from Papua New Guinea, so it's got some apple flavors, super awesome.
Yeah, I taste the apple for sure. Well, thank you, man. It's good. We all brought our mugs today. So what is everybody drinking out of?
So mine represent my alma mater, ORU,
ORU, Oral Roberts, right?
Oral Roberts, yep.
Where is Oral Roberts? I don't even...
It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Oklahoma. What about you, Angelica?
I got my David and Jewel mug here, adventuring since 2019. Shout out to David and Jewel, getting married in 2 weeks.
Shout out to David and Jewel. Yeah, we kind of found that mug in here. So David and Jewel are getting married pretty soon. So that's going to be exciting. I am drinking out of one of my favorite mugs from my favorite coffee shop, Merit. It's actually out of San Antonio. This was their Christmas-themed mug, and it says, "Let your heart be light." I love it. I love it. So cheers, everybody. Zach,
cheers.
Thank you.
We're going to have to do some air cheers over here.
Cheers. Thank you, man, for making us some coffee.
Of course.
Well, hey, I want us to just jump into today's podcast. We're going to be talking about life transitions. And, with young adults being, roughly 18 to 30 years old, they are in a world of life transition. If you think about it, you have somebody graduating high school and they've got their whole life before them trying to figure it out. Where are they going to study? Are they going to study somewhere? Where are they going to work? Are they going to go to a 4-year university, a community college, trade school, work? And then once you get to that point, and maybe you're in school getting an education and you're about to graduate, then there's another transition, right? And you're like, okay, where am I going to work? Where am I going to live? Where is my career, my job going to take me? And then once you get there, it's like there's more transition, you're not done yet, and you're trying to figure out, okay, now I've got my job. Now I'm paying rent on my own and paying bills on my own, and maybe if you're in a serious relationship, there's dating, engagement, marriage, is this the right person for me? So there's all of that. And I know you guys have kind of been in that world as well as young adults yourself, and myself being a young adult at one point, not anymore. I'm actually a real adult now. So we're just going to talk about that. And so, guys, you kind of go in chronological order. You guys were in high school at one point, and so what was that like? Where did you guys go to high school, and then what was that like when you stepped into college? Where did you go to school and all that?
So I went to school at Cy Ranch here in Houston, or in technically Cypress area, but whatever.
Born and raised in
Houston.
Houston.
I ended up going to Oral Roberts, which is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that was kind of a big step, for me, where it was just okay, I don't have my family around. I really don't have any family around. So it was a Christian university, so that was pretty cool, where I was able to kind of have that support of people, but still, it's still a big transition.
Yeah, totally. So you go from high school, you're out in Cypress here, Northwest Houston, then you're going to Tulsa, Oklahoma at ORU, leaving home, big transition. Angelica, what about you? What was that like?
I had a similar experience. I was actually born and raised in Austin, Texas, and I went to college at University of Houston. So I didn't want to go out of state because I wanted to be kind of close to my family still, but far enough away to live my own life and spread my wings and stuff.
Spread your wings and fly.
So Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So you were in Austin. So was that ever like an option or like, because that's like a big deal being from Austin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I thought about it. My parents went to UT. I guess I just kind of wanted to be different. And also, I just thought it was way too competitive. And I have like an issue with rejection. So I didn't even bother to apply.
You're like, just forget it.
Yeah.
Okay,
don't worry,
cool.
you made the better choice.
Yeah, I love UH.
Yeah, University of Houston. Hey, it's a great school. We have a lot of our young adults that are either at U of H right now or just graduated from U of H. So as David Wynn would say, go Cougs, right? So, man, well, awesome. So you guys have been through that transition. I went through that transition as well, born and raised in Houston, and trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Where am I going to study? What school do I want to go to? And I remember applying to different universities. It was like U of H, SFA, TCU, and for some reason, none of them really stood out to me. I did some of the tours, and I just, for whatever reason, just couldn't commit to any of them. And then I remember my mom actually saying, why don't you apply to Sam Houston? So I'm like, okay. So I applied to Sam Houston. This is like in like June. So kind of like late after graduation. It's kind of late to be applying, to a school in June. Then I get accepted. I do the campus tour, and I'm like, this is it. This is where I'm going to go to school. I don't know why, but it just fit. And I knew it was kind of like similar to you. Like it was far away enough from home to feel like I was doing something different, doing something on my own, but I could still go home for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only like
sometimes
an hour
I feel like
away.
you gotta I don't know, just part of that transition and really jumping in, and it's just getting far enough away where you gotta actually kind of make decisions yourself, and
you
really
learn.
rely on others and grow in that area, especially when you're first coming out of high school.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of like going out of home, away. You're growing in independence in a way. And so that was true for me going to college and not really knowing anybody. I knew like one guy when I got to school, and I'm just meeting new people, trying to figure it out, and kind of felt lonely. It was kind of a hard transition to this being away from home, being away from family. And I remember in that time, especially in that first year at school, there was a group of guys that were involved in a Christian ministry there called Chi Alpha there at Sam Houston. And they just began to reach out to me and invite me to Bible studies and hanging out and taco night and all kinds of events and video games and all that stuff. And eventually I finally gave my life to the Lord. I got saved in college. Joined one of the small groups and just kind of grew in my relationship with the Lord. And it actually changed my life. Jesus changed my life. And it's because I found biblical community to kind of walk with me and have accountability and encouragement in a time of like transition where, you're in school and you begin to kind of get into a routine, but you're still like, you're only there for a little while. You know what I mean? You still got the rest of your life and career in front of you, and you're still in a season of trying to figure out what that's going to look like. And so, man, for me, being in that high school to college transition, having meeting Jesus definitely helped, but then having a biblical and godly community, people that were like real friends that loved me, cared for me, wanted me to grow in my relationship with the Lord. Man, it was so impactful. And man, I really needed that at that time. And it was kind of like a foundation for me for the rest of my life,
Yeah, that's so great. I feel like, that's literally tools and literally stuff you can use for the rest of your life. Like you're saying, knowing that, having that biblical community and just like, that's something that you can use lifelong to help you through whatever transition. It's not just, we go through transitions, high school, to college, to work, but there's other transitions later on, but, still having that community, that's huge, and learning that like you did, I think that's really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Being in those college age years, maybe you're at a 4-year university, trade school, maybe you're just working and maybe you're not in school, having biblical community and godly friendships is so important to keep you accountable, to help encourage you to do life with, because life is tough. And we need, like Galatians chapter 6 says, carrying each other's burdens and so fulfilling the law of Christ. And so in that stage of life, finding godly friendships is so important.
Yeah, definitely. I actually was part of Chi Alpha as well, which at UH. And I actually gave my life to Christ when I was 18 years old, like right after I graduated high school. And before then I was like a total punk. And so after I gave my life to Jesus, I was part of a church in Austin for a few months. And then I went off to college, and I was kind of worried, like, I don't know anybody. I don't have like a church that I know out there. And God totally came through and provided for me when I got on campus at UH. Like the first week I was there, I met someone from Chi Alpha. I was just going to get like a free lunch, and then they invited me to small group, and I got super involved in Chi Alpha and had like that biblical community to like walk alongside with, and like they held me accountable and stuff. And my relationship with them and with Jesus totally grew, and I don't know what my college life would have been like without that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It all started with the free lunch. There you go.
Yeah, the free lunch. They got you in there. Free,
Jesus
PB
and free lunch
or something. So Zach, what was it like for you? Because you went off to Oral Roberts. You were in college. Graduation was coming up. What was that like to go from like graduating to like, okay, now what? Now I got to find a job. And what was that like for you?
So really for me, when I kind of started really realizing, the importance of biblical community was actually when I was done with school, and I just got my bachelor's, moved back here to Houston, and, I was trying to find a job. It was honestly a huge struggle. It's just like that first job and just kind of landing something. They want all this experience, and it's just really a hard thing,
Yeah, they want like 5 years experience.
Yeah, it's like,
and like you're a recent graduate.
Do that, yeah. So I got, was really beating myself up for that, just mentally, and just like, oh man, why am I not good enough? Can't even land this job. I did all this work for nothing. What's going on? And, I really was having a hard time. I was still back with my parents, stuff like that, but I ended up joining a church and really getting plugged in with serving and life groups, and that was honestly, it was huge for me. Like, similar to what y'all have been saying, just like that biblical community. It didn't change necessarily my circumstance. I was still going through the transition, trying to just kind of find the next steps, but it helped, having that encouragement, having those people I could just do life with.
Yeah, that's so good. Like you mentioned, like it didn't change the circumstances that you were in, but it definitely made it way easier to go through that and have a foundation and an anchor that you could stand on, which ultimately is Jesus and our love for him being expressed through community and through the church. And, we find that, even in our own ministry, like we have a lot of young adults that their community, maybe it wasn't going away to college and it was like a college ministry, but it's actually the young adult ministry here at the church, at the local church. And so I know, what we do is super important to provide godly friendship, mentorship, accountability. So yeah, I mean, that's really great. I know for me, having godly friendships in church, like when I would go home for the summer, was like super important, because I had my friends and ministry and all that up in college, but when I came home for the summer, I actually met a bunch of young adults here at this church. Wow. And they became, great friends, lifelong friends for me here at the church. And so it's not just in college, but it's right here, right back at home. And Angelica, what was it like for you, being in college as well, graduating and moving on to like the next step? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So after I graduated college, I actually moved back home to Austin, and it was then where I really had to take like personal responsibility for my walk with Christ, and like start feeding myself, as in like reading the Bible by myself, praying, and going to church by myself, because my family they went to a different church than I did. And so it really just had me like step into a new like role of, being independent spiritually. And I just feel like what you were saying earlier, like that biblical community, it really follows you throughout your whole life. And at a certain point, you can't just expect it to come to you. You have to reach out and find it.
So good.
And so whenever I got home, like I knew that was important. Like I needed to find people that were like-minded and that wanted to grow in their faith. That way I could be, grow with them. Because if you're on your own, it's hard. Like it's possible, but it's so much easier when you have people around you who are gonna like encourage you and sharpen you. And so as soon as I got back home to Austin, I jumped back into my old church and into the young adult life group there, and I just had to make that decision for myself, like I need to keep on like building community and like staying with, you know, other believers and stuff.
Yeah, I think you're so right, because it's a step of maturity that you have to take, and you have to realize that, okay, this is my walk with God and my faith. Mm-hmm. So for someone that maybe they grew up in church, you know, maybe they went because their parents made them or whatever the reason, at some point for that young person, that young adult, their faith has to become their own. Not just their parents, not just their families, but they really have to own that. And that's a step of maturity, to begin to like seek God on your own, pray, read the Bible for yourself, right. You know, seek out godly community. And I would say the same is true. The same is true for someone going into high school to that college age, and also somebody that might be in college and going on to adult life. They're leaving their university, what they've known for like the past 4 years. Maybe if they've been involved in a church or a college ministry, they're leaving that bubble of fellowship and they're going home or going to a new city, going to like the grind of work and trying to find a home church and all that. It's the same for them as well, to own their faith. And really, if they don't have community, to go find it.
Exactly.
And to go make it happen.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you've got to make the effort, and that's just a step of maturity and growing up into like adulthood and owning your faith for yourself. I've seen so many people in the past few years go from college, and maybe they've been involved in a ministry or a church, and then they transition to work life and going to church on Sundays, and that they have a hard time making that transition, because the closeness and the fellowship and the constant availability isn't there. Because, I mean, you guys remember what college was like. Some people have part-time jobs. Some people are just studying, and people are all in one place, hanging out all the time, 24/7. Mm-hmm. But then when you go to, like, typical work life, it's different. People are busy. They're working and have families and all sorts of things. And so it gets a little bit harder, but it's not impossible.
Right. Yeah, you actually like reminded me. Before we graduated, I was actually a small group leader towards the end of my college career. And before we graduated, we had a big talk about workplace ministry. So we were all going into our career fields and whatnot. And we just wanted to make it a point to know that everything that we've done this past 4 years, don't leave it here and just let this be my time here at UH and Chi Alpha was like the wonder years. Like, this is the beginning, and you can take that on with you into your workplace. And so, like, I had to keep that momentum going. And so when I got to where I transferred into Austin, at the store I transferred into, I remember like sharing my faith with like my coworkers, and not I remember we talked about like, whenever you introduce yourself to somebody, whenever you meet them, make it a point to like mention like I'm a Christian, I go to church, that way they know that that's important to you and stuff, and they can ask you any questions. And so it was so cool to like step into workplace ministry, and people around me, like my coworkers, knew that I was Christian. And several times, like when they were going through hard experiences, like they got in a car accident or their son was like dealing with like drugs and stuff like that, they would ask me to pray for them.
Wow, that's
and
so cool.
It was like so powerful. And so it was just really exciting to see how like the Lord continues to move, like not just in like this younger adult life in college, but like throughout your career, like if you let him and if you're like obedient to him.
And that's how it should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how it should be. So, you know, like for someone that might be younger, 18, 19, maybe just recently out of high school, you know, there was maybe youth ministry or parents or, you know, people in their life that were, you know, constantly pouring into them. That should never stop, you know, being poured into. But now they've got to really go make their faith happen, you know, for themselves. They've got to go, you know, pursue it on their own and really put themselves out there to have fellowship, because maybe other friends go off to college at different places and leave town. I mean, you've got to kind of put yourself out there. And if you don't have friends, godly friends, go make some, go find some, put yourself out there. For the person that's going from college to a new city or back home and working and trying to find a church, Put yourself out there and make it happen, and to try your hardest to find godly fellowship. And I would say this too, as an encouragement: God cares who our friends are, and he cares that we have community, godly community. And so my encouragement to anybody watching, if you're struggling with this, you don't feel like you have that community, ask God. Ask God and pray about it, because he really, really cares. I want to share a verse with you guys out of Psalms 32, chapter 8. I think it's really important concerning like what we're talking about. And it says this: I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. This is the Lord saying, when you're trying to figure out where you're going, like, we can rely upon the Lord. And he says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. You're thinking about the transitions and the questions and the future and the unknowns in front of you. The Lord will instruct us. The Lord will teach us the way that we should go, and he will counsel us with his eye upon us. And so my thought, my encouragement out of this is, how can we know where God is instructing us or teaching us and showing us to go if we're not spending time with him? You know, the only way that we can know what God wants us to do and how to walk in obedience, or maybe what the next step is if we're putting our ear down to his word, spending time with him, abiding in Jesus, spending time in prayer, learning to listen for his voice and recognize his voice, and then have the courage and the faith to, step forward into that. And so for you guys watching and listening with us today, my encouragement to you is to seek the Lord. Man, seek after him with all of your heart. Jesus says, ask and seek and knock. Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. And that time of transition and uncertainty about the future, the only way that we can know what to do and how to really be anchored solidly in that time of transition is to work on our relationship with God, and spend time in devotion. So I want to ask you guys, what has that been like? How has church, community, young adults, your own devotional life, what has that meant for you guys here just in the past, few years dealing with this? How has that really helped you guys?
Yeah, I think it's crucial. It's crucial to, doing life and, living out a godly life and being an example, And two, I think another thing is having that biblical community. Another benefit is really you get people that have gone before you, and they can speak wisdom into your life. You get, wisdom from God's word. You get wisdom from others too, who can speak life and encourage you through seasons. Seasons are rough, transitions are rough, but having those, those godly people to speak into your life to even help you practically through stuff, I think that's huge. And, absolutely, it's crucial, that we, seek God and really just allow his peace to come. And I think a big thing is peace, in our life and with transitions.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's a Bible verse in Proverbs 3, it's 3:5-6, that really has just stuck with me like throughout my whole, young adult life. And it's, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. And that just stood out to me, so many things in that are so good. Like, lean not on your own understanding, because like you're this whole thing is about transition, and so many at so many points in my life in the past 7-10 years, I don't know what's going to happen next, and I have to just really press into the Lord and ask him to open the doors wherever he wants me to go, and close the doors on the things that just aren't for me. And it says, in all your ways submit to him. And I feel like that just really speaks to not having your spiritual life and your personal life and your work life separate, but in everything that you do, at all times with all people, to acknowledge him and submit to him and ask him, if I'm just going to go to work today, to ask him, what do you have anything else that you want me to do? Is there anything that you want to speak to me? Anybody you want me to talk to? And he will always provide, and he'll always make your path straight. Yeah, and so I've just found him faithful whenever you submit to him in everything that you do at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. When we dedicate our lives to him, we put ourselves in a position to be able to receive from God and to hear from God. And when we're seeking after his will, he will show us what to do. It won't be confusing. Now, he may not show us the next 10, 20, 30-year plan, but he'll show us what to do next as he sees fit in his perfect timing, as what is best for us. And so, man, God is in control. All right, we just got to let him in. And that is done by, man, trusting the Lord with all of our heart, not leaning on our own understanding, acknowledge him in all our ways, and he will make straight your path. Yeah. The path will be straight. Man, I love that. It's so good.
I think that's huge. It's like we have to trust, because sometimes we don't know how long those seasons will be and how long the transitions will take. And it's like, that's the anchor, through those times, is that trust. And,
Amen. Man, that's so good. That's so good, man. I feel like, man, we've really, really said some really, really great things here. And I hope that they're an encouragement to all you guys listening and watching, that, man, transitions are going to come. They're real. It's a part of life, especially if you're a young adult. But it's not going to last forever. It's not the worst part of life. It's not the worst thing. But, man, you can live victoriously in your life with Christ if you just submit to him, lean into godly biblical community, lean into fellowship, church fellowship, be a part of a church body, be there on Sunday mornings, join a life group. If you're a young adult, hey, we invite you to our young adult ministry here at our church. We meet Fridays at 7:00. Have godly friendship and put yourself out there. If you don't have anyone around you, put yourself out there, go make it happen, and pray and ask the Lord, like, Lord, would you give me godly friends, brothers and sisters in Christ that I can rely upon? And remember, Galatians chapter 6, carry each other's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Man, we need that help. We need that encouragement. And so, man, this has been some really, really good stuff. I hope you guys listening and watching have enjoyed this, that this is a help and a resource to you as you think about life and going through transitions. So, guys, thank you for joining us. We're so glad to have you with us. Zach, Angelica, thank you for sharing today. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
Great.
See you guys next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.